Yep, thank you. So excited. Is there a second?
Second.
Byers,
Yes.
Cadu Blackwood,
Yes.
Franklin,
Yes.
Gordon Ross,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Kimball.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
I want to recognize that Board Member Costello is under the weather, so is unable to join us this evening. And then we are going to move on to recognition and the introduction of some of our new colleagues in the district.
Well, thank you, Madam President and members of the board. All of you are joining both in person and remote. We are so delighted to welcome incoming leaders, and particularly tonight, we're welcoming 2 district leaders, one who's new to Lawrence Public Schools team, and the other a familiar face that we are introducing this evening in a new role. First of all, we're delighted to have recently announced the selection of Dr. Cole Amaya. He's right here with his family as Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning. And we're thrilled tonight to welcome him in person for an introduction to the board and the community. Cole joins us alongside his wife, Lindsay Amaya, and their sons, Brecken, there he is, and a rising 5th grader, and Camden, a rising 2nd grader. Welcome. Dr. Amaya has a proven history as a successful educational leader, having worked most recently as a district leader in Kansas City, Kansas. Oh, and by the way, we are celebrating, how else could we celebrate but with cupcakes? So Brecken and Camden, be sure we're coming your way, okay? Very good. Most recently, Dr. Amaya joins us from Kansas City, Kansas schools, where he also served, in addition to district leadership, he served as a high school principal, an assistant principal, and an instructional coach. Dr. Amaya demonstrates a commitment to quality learning and to opportunities for all students. And he has lived that commitment through his record of service in schools and to students over time. His experience in inspiring a culture of teaching and learning, collaborating to improve practice by working alongside gifted teacher leaders and principals, as well as his schools and his skills in the adept use of data and strengthening systems to inform instruction, have prepared him well for leadership here in Lawrence Public Schools and for our next steps together. As you all know, Dr. Amaya will work with classroom teachers and school leaders in overseeing the curriculum, instruction, assessment functions that support our critical mission, the very heart of the organization for teaching and learning in Lawrence Public Schools. Welcome, Dr. Amaya. Yay. Secondly, they're going to be invited up. They'd like to greet you for a moment, if that's all right. Secondly, Miss Tina Mitchell. She is an esteemed educational leader who this fall will mark 25 years of exemplary service in Lawrence Public Schools. And so as such, we need no introduction to Tina Mitchell. Her reputation precedes her, and that is one of being a strong and committed leader for equity and for students. We are delighted, however, this evening to welcome her as she transitions into a new role, and that is as serving as the Director of Equity and Student and Family Engagement in Lawrence Public Schools. I so appreciate the leadership of the board in planning for this position long before I came along, and I so appreciate the opportunity to have Ms. Mitchell sitting in this seat leading these efforts. We are all educational leaders driven by equity. And we're so delighted that Tina will be helping us to organize and direct those efforts all together in one direction. Most recently, she served, as you all know, as the assistant principal at Free State High School, working there 3 years as an assistant principal and 11 years as a school counselor. Over this past year, our district leadership team worked with school board officers and the Equity Advisory Committee to redesign this leadership position to meet our district goals around culturally responsive systems and to support the current needs of students and families. As we redesigned that role, it became clear over recent months that Ms. Mitchell was the right leader at the right time to direct these efforts forward. She will help define, evaluate, and analyze the effectiveness of authentic family engagement initiatives and their effectiveness on student learning, academic success, attendance, and family engagement and participation. Working in collaboration with parents, she will lead efforts to develop meaningful engagement to support education, social services, health, disabilities, and volunteer activities. If I were to go farther back into Ms. Mitchell's history, you would see that she has middle school experience, she has critical experience on crisis response teams, and so many wide and varied skills that will serve her well in this new role. Our many thanks, so welcome, Ms. Tina Mitchell. Yay. To take a minute to thank all of the many individuals who served on multiple rounds of interview committees. We had para-educators classified, we had principals, teachers, we had wide committees, and they have experienced a lot of fluorescent office light this summer, completing interviews so that we could bring the very best leadership selections. So I've asked them if they'd like to greet you for a moment, and here they are. Ms. Tina Mitchell. Hold on 1 second, and we're going to get you live and microphone. There we go.
And good evening. I am very much looking forward to partnering with schools and to stepping into this role and working with our communities. This has been 25 years. I'm not going to commit to another 25 years. The next few years that I am here, I am just really looking forward to being in this position. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tina.
Good evening, Board. I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. I look forward to serving the Lawrence Public School District and moving the work forward for teaching and learning.
Very good. Thank you. Very good. Oh, yes, of course. I'm sorry. It's all yours.
So the next item on the agenda is the election of the president. I am going to ask my board colleagues if I can take a point of privilege, as this is my last night after 2 years of serving. I have a statement I would like to make. Is that agreeable? Okay, heads are shaking, so I'm going to go ahead. On this, my last night of serving as board president, a couple of things have happened, but in particular, there was some action by the Supreme Court that allows the movement for dismantling the Department of Public Education. And initially, on July 3rd, there was an action taken by the federal government to freeze some public funding. I believe Dr. Swift will be speaking to that in a moment, but while I'm still board president, I would like to make a statement. So the Trump administration's last-minute decision to withhold nearly $7 billion in approved education funding meant that after-school programs for students learning English, students with disabilities, and teachers' professional development and other supports caught school districts off guard and shows a blatant disregard for the needs of children and public educators. Consider that the dollars were allocated by Congress in March and affirmed by the president shortly thereafter. Districts across America budgeted accordingly based on the federal government's legal obligation to distribute that funding. With very little explanation, they pulled the funding at the last minute, and districts everywhere are left scrambling. This move undermines essential services for students, especially students from working-class families, coupled with the recent cuts to food stamps and other Medicaid services and the actions to dismantle the Department of Education is unjust and immoral. Our students and educators deserve better than this kind of instability, and I think it's important that the community hears from this particular board that it matters to us that we take different action. As school board president, I feel responsibility to speak plainly and indirectly. Dismantling the U.S. Department of Education is a serious mistake. This isn't about politics. It's about what we owe to students, every student. The Department of Education exists to help ensure that kids in rural towns, big cities, and everywhere in between all have access to fair and decent education. It helps protect students' civil rights, support special education, provide funding to schools that need it most, and keep a basic level of accountability across the country. Take that away, and we risk deeply the inequities that we struggle to close. Our public schools already operate under tight resources and increasing demands. Stripping away federal support would make things harder, especially for districts serving low-income communities, students learning English, and students with disabilities. That's all of us. We should be looking at how to strengthen the system, not break off one of the few structures that holds it together. Calls to eliminate the Department of Education aren't about local control. They're about stepping back from the promise that all children, no matter where they live, deserve a quality education. We know from history that there's no federal guardrail. The gaps grow fast. We're proud of our schools. We're proud of Lawrence Public Schools. We know the work we do here matters, but we also know we can't do it alone. Federal support isn't perfect, but it's necessary. Dismantling the Department of Education puts too much at risk. Our students deserve better. I want to be clear about the department's function, so I'm going to restate it here. The U.S. Department of Education plays a critical role in ensuring equal access to quality education across the nation. Its core functions include enforcing federal education laws related to civil rights, distributing federal financial aid, collecting and analyzing education data, promoting innovation and evidence-based practices, and providing support for underserved communities. These functions are not about federal overreach. They are about guaranteeing a baseline of fairness, equity, and opportunity for every student, regardless of their geography. Dismantling the Department of Education does not inherently increase state rights. Rather, it removes federal safeguards that protect students and families from inequities and discrimination. States already have significant control over their education systems, curricula, and standards. Eliminating the department would not create new powers for states, but would weaken national consistency, civil rights enforcement, and federal supports for disadvantaged students. True education freedom requires both local flexibility and federal accountability. Dismantling the Department of Education undermines balance. And in this state, when we both talk about the importance of local control and then are in the minutia of how a board runs its business, you cannot both say that this is about local control and about increasing control over what we teach. It is very clear that this is about dismantling public education in favor of private education. I see it, I think it's wrong, and it is most harmful to the kids that need it most. And thank you to my board colleagues. So we're going to move on to board elections. And I'm having a little bit of a tech problem, and I know that we had a really good script to make sure that we keep me on point. There were, as we were pulling it up here, I want to just say there were some nominations that came to the board prior to the meeting. And, oh, look at that. Okay, so we will now move forward with the election of officers. Members, I would like to review the nomination voting process before we begin. There were nominations that came to the board through the assistance of Nikki, which we greatly appreciated. There were a couple of those nominations in which folks declined, but I want to acknowledge that my board colleagues received that recognition. So Carol Cadu-Blackwood, Ann Costello, and I received nominations, and we will, I don't want to speak for Carol, but I'll speak for myself and say that I'm declining that. And Carol, do you?
Yeah,
to that?
sure. This is Carol for folks at home, but I am declining the nomination at this time. I self-nominated last year, and I was not successful in getting a seat for vice president. So at this time, I am declining because I've taken on more obligations at the state level to support and enforce our treaty obligations to our indigenous peoples. So I'm declining at this time.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
My board colleague, Ann Costello, is not with us this evening, but she did send notice to the board that she would like to decline nominations. So as in terms of process, with that information in mind, members may self-nominate, or a nomination may be offered from another member. Nominations may be offered prior to the meeting or during the meeting at the time designated for nomination for that office. So we discussed those that came prior to the meeting, some of them. Nominations will be opened and closed individually for each office or position, and the board will vote immediately following the close of nominations for that position. So we will now open it up for nomination statements. And we'll start with board president. So I'll open it up to the floor. I know that I'm going to nominate, but I was wondering if anyone else wanted to start. So I'll go ahead. We know that there are 2 nominations, right? Yeah, do you want to go ahead? Yeah.
Nominations for board president are Bob Byers and G.R. Gordon Ross.
Are there additional nominations for board president? Okay. Now I need to ask my board colleagues whether they accept those nominations. I'll start with G.R. G.R. is accepting. Mr. Byers.
I have decided to decline that nomination.
Okay, thank you. So with that, we have 1 nomination on the table. It is GR. Are there additional nominations? Well, that's going to be a tricky vote.
You have to rank order.
Okay. We still need to take the official step, I think, of completing the vote. So we'll go ahead. Okay. Okay. Did you want to make a statement? Okay. All right, so we can vote. And I'll say why Nikki is tallying the votes, that Bob, GR, and I spoke and agreed that I would just, even after I would just complete the process of getting us through to the vice president, if that's, yeah.
For the office of board president, votes for G.R. Gordon Ross. Member Cadu-Blackwood votes for G.R. Gordon Ross. Member Franklin votes for G.R. Gordon Ross. Member Byers votes for G.R. Gordon Ross. Member Gordon Ross votes for G.R. Gordon Ross. Member Jones votes for G.R. Gordon Ross.
Congratulations.
You need the motion to affirm?
Yes.
Okay. I move that Member G.R. Gordon Ross be affirmed as the president of the board.
Is
I
there-
second.
Okay.
Franklin,
Yes.
Gordon Ross,
Yes.
Jones,
Enthusiastically, yes.
Byers,
Yes.
Kadu Blackwood.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Congratulations.
You're way too excited.
Okay. All right. So we will now move on with the same process for vice president. And I'll open it up for nominations. I do have a nomination to make. Is it, but I think it might be one you already, I'm going to go ahead anyway. So I did fair warning, I think, warn my colleague about this. So I am nominating, and I don't think I'm alone in doing this, nominating Bob Byers as vice president. I have served with Bob as vice president. He is a really good colleague to have alongside you. He's dedicated many years of service to this board and to public education in general, and certainly his career was dedicated to the health and safety of families in our community and across the state. I'm really proud to get to serve with you, Bob, and I've learned so much from you. And I would hope my board colleagues, many of whom I think are also qualified to be vice president, but all of you are actually. But it is one of those moments in which I think you are most prepared to do it at this moment in my assessment. So if you are willing, I would make that nomination. Are there other nominations? Yeah.
Hi, this is Carol. I would like to enthusiastically nominate my fellow colleague, board member Yolanda Franklin. I think she's demonstrated a great commitment to this community, and she has strong family ties to this community, and I appreciate her insight into the school system as she has grandchildren in the district. Thank you.
It's an excellent nomination. Other nominations? Okay, that is a really nice ballot. So I'm glad that now I'm going to ask if my colleagues are willing to accept the nomination. So I'll start with Bob.
I'm willing to accept the
Okay.
nomination.
Yolanda?
I'm willing to accept.
Okay. I don't think we can lose on this vote, but we'll take the opportunity to do it. Yeah, just a minute. GR is already running the meeting. He was wondering if Bob or Yolanda would like to make a statement while we're waiting for the ballots.
Not really.
I could make statements about both of you. They're both amazing.
For the office of Board Vice President, Member Byers votes for Bob Byers. Member Kimball votes for Bob Byers. Member Cadu Blackwood votes for Yolanda Franklin. Member Yolanda Franklin votes for Yolanda Franklin. Member G.R. Gordon Ross votes for Bob Byers. And Member Kelly Jones votes for Bob Byers.
Okay, is there a motion?
I move that the board affirm Member Bob Byers as Board Vice President.
Is there a second?
Second.
Franklin?
Yes.
Gordon Ross? Jones?
Yes.
Kimball?
Yes.
Byers?
Yes.
Cadu Blackwood?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Bob and GR. Thank you both so much for your willingness to serve, and Yolanda, your willingness to jump in as well. I'm really grateful. We are going to now take a recess in order to reorganize seats, move GR into this seat. Is it agreeable to you that we take 10 minutes to do that? Okay, so we will come back at 6:41, and Bob and GR will facilitate the remainder of this meeting. Amen.
Thank you, President Gordon Ross. We hope that everyone enjoyed a good Independence Day holiday. Here in USD 497, that simply means one thing, that we cross from the first half of the summer to the second half of the summer, and we double down into a full court press to be well prepared for the start of the new school year. You can feel the intensity now as we move toward mid-July. In all of our areas of focus, adding talent to our team to ensure quality, committed teachers, staff, and leaders in every building, safe and functional and beautiful school buildings, fiscal responsibility to ensure a balanced budget in spite of the many challenges, building capacity and development for members of our team to serve students well. In all of those areas, we are laser focused and pressing forward to ensure the very best school district for our Lawrence students coming soon in 2025-26. I just want to thank every single team member who continues to support and move the work forward this summer during these intense July days of preparation. I watched the guys outside doing the physical work, and Friday night I was here working in the roofers. In the rainstorm, had to come down into the building to see all of the leaks that were occurring, and it just reminds me of how hard around the clock that people are working to ensure that this mission moves forward. I really want to give a shout out to all of those who've served on interviews, as I noted, and then also just a special shout out to our members of the Human Resources team. They are working hard every day, but right now they are really pressed, and they're working diligently to onboard and orient many incoming staff all at once. This week, special education team successfully concluded their extended school year programming. It'd be good if I showed you the great photos that go with this. They wrapped up on July 10th after 5 weeks of instruction, running Monday through Thursday in half-day sessions. This year's programming provided critical services to 173 students whose IEP teams determined that ESY was necessary to ensure student progress on goals and skills, and that their progress was not jeopardized by the summer break. We were proud to staff the program with 46 certified professionals and 109 classified staff members, ensuring individualized instruction and support across all sites. The program was well executed with strong collaboration, consistent attendance, and positive feedback from our families. This reflects our district's ongoing commitment to providing high-quality, student-centered support around the year, particularly for our students who need it most. We've also made tremendous strides this past week. Members, I've updated you separately on specific numbers, but we've made great strides in the hiring of our special education team members. We have more work to accomplish in this area of critical need over these upcoming July weeks, and I'll keep you posted as we move forward. You may not have realized it, but July is Disability Pride Month. And I wanted to call it out tonight because it marks the anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. This year makes 35 years. Back in July 26 of 1990, that law was signed, that bill was signed into law. Disability Pride Month reminds us that diversity strengthens us. However, every month of the year is a great time to celebrate the identities, the contributions, the unique resilience of individuals with disabilities. It's also an opportunity to reflect on the importance of inclusion, accessibility, and equity in our schools and communities. As a district, we are proud to support students of all abilities, and we remain committed to fostering environments where every learner is valued, empowered, and given the tools to thrive. Disability rights are civil rights. And in the Lawrence Public Schools, we take very seriously our responsibilities to ensure equity work to support strong opportunities for individuals with disabilities. I've included in my report some website resources for disability, family member, and ally resources for those who may want to see how they can better support these important members of our community. We are, as we've said, on our summer mission to fully staff our schools. Our goal is simple and straightforward, and that is a quality teacher in front of every child, and quality staff and school leaders to support that effort. Research over 75 years yields one clear thing that we know, and that is the quality of the teacher makes all the difference for children. And so we are on that mission. Our human resources team is working hard in recruitment, confirming hires, and onboarding activities. Members, between our Friday update and our Monday update, we had 8 more hires added to our team, and that continues hour by hour. I appreciated that our team onboarded 40 new certified staff recently on July 9th, and then our new administrators received their onboarding session just today. So we appreciate that work. You can see our progress over recent weeks. I've included a table in the superintendent's report where you can see week by week we are reducing the number of openings that are not yet filled. And just a shout out in the community, if you care about children and are committed to quality work, come on over. We'd love to talk to you about joining our Lawrence Public Schools team. Madam President did a better job than I could do in really laying out the impact of the federal freeze. But we've created and will be posting tonight, later this evening. Andrew is prepared to post. We're making it personal to Lawrence Public Schools. You hear in the news $6.5 billion. We hear billion-dollar numbers every day in news reporting, but we think it's important to personalize that right here in Lawrence Public Schools. I appreciated that Cindy Frick, our Executive Director of Finance, has helped us to understand what it means right here at home. Title II, which supports recruitment, preparation, training, and retention of effective teachers, staff, and principals, $309,000. Title III supports language instruction for English language learners, $63,185. Title IV supports programs and activities aimed at enhancing student success and well-being. That's $95,656. That brings us to a total of $468,151. We are relieved to share that we've recently learned, members, that the NAS Title VI funding has been awarded. So there is a sliver of good news amidst the rest of this news. When we consider the pause or the freeze of federal funds, we know the importance these funds carry in providing real-time support for students, specifically in the areas of ensuring quality staff, supporting English learners, and supporting the student well-being. We know that while federal funds for programming, people characterize those as being on pause, I resist that language because it makes it sound innocuous. The reality is our children do not have time to wait. Their growth and their opportunities and their development is not on pause. We are continuing to work to meet their needs, and their needs are significant. Our students are counting on us for the opportunities that are necessary for their future, their growth this school year, not on a pause sometime later on, but their growth right now, real time, is our critical mission. Our students will arrive in our classrooms ready to learn for their next grade level in just a few days. And we hold, members, as I know you know, the serious responsibility to ensure appropriate plans and supports are in place for every child to experience their best year ever, to learn and grow and achieve this year. So I would just call out to everyone, it is time to lift our voices. We will continue to monitor this federal funding situation, and we appreciate the advocacy and outreach of so many who've reached out to us who care about our students. This is a federal decision, but it is a community and local impact. These are our children, and I appreciate your advocacy on their behalf. Turning again to our preparations for school opening, I called out the human resources team. I also want to give a shout out to facilities and operations. They are literally working around the clock. Dr. Engelbrecht, I haven't gotten to tell you, but I had some of them on Friday evening in here, busy working to make sure we were going to be in good shape. From the roofs to sidewalks, cafeterias, restrooms, classrooms, and school deep cleaning and rehab, we are on a mission on the goal of ensuring beautiful and clean and safe classrooms and campuses for the return of school. How the physical property looks says a lot about how we care for our students. So I want you to know, members, that I take that work very seriously. Dr. Engelbrecht and his team does as well, and we will continue to work hard. I've highlighted a few projects. If we were going to list them all, it would take many, many slides. I offered that photo of the entrance of Free State High School. I wanted and I appreciated Dr. Engelbrecht and the team getting it done, but really, isn't that a more welcoming entrance than what we have had there? A little shout out to our tech team. There are only a few of them in this photo, but I promise you, there were so many of them here working. We couldn't find a parking space a couple of times last week, and they were working to tag hundreds of laptops, chargers, and power bricks in preparation for our students' return this August. I just want to give them a big shout out for their behind-the-scene efforts. They're not often noticed by folks out in the community, may not realize how many folks really give their all to make these efforts happen. In case you need a reminder, we continue to serve families. I'll just point out there's no ID, there's no paperwork, there's nothing required. Just come. Come. And our nutrition and wellness team, facilities and operations staff are continuing to distribute breakfast and lunch meal kits to families and organizations that serve children. If you come to the drive-through at the youth sports complex for the last 2 days of our summer meal kit pickup, they are taking place tomorrow, the 14th, and then next week on the 22nd, at 6:45 to 8:45. Now, you do need to go online, and we provided a little online spot where you can sign up but there is no qualification required. So we're excited about that. Additionally, on-site at Woodlawn Elementary will continue to be served Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 11:30 to 12:30. Some families just like to come on into school and have lunch in the summer, and we welcome you. Register for the summer meal kits or for summer meals. It helps them to plan and prepare better. I think if you've been on our website, you've seen this the last few days, but there is an offering out of some of the refurbished MacBook Airs. I won't say much about that, but if folks have interest, you can go on our website and get help with making that happen. We continue to highlight our many wonderful programs in the district. And if you've not lately noticed, our Lawrence Virtual School is the best virtual online schooling option in the state. I would put it up against any virtual school anywhere. And I just wanted to offer this evening this little synopsis from Andrew on the benefits of our virtual school.
I think I would summarize my kids' experiences at Griffin as they have excelled at who they are now, as opposed to being shut down. I'm going to cry. They don't get shut down anymore, and they get to excel.
I like how my teachers understand my ADHD. I can do my schoolwork as fast as I want or as slow as I want. And then the smaller group setting helps me focus more, and it helps me feel more heard.
I'm not entirely sure how to explain it, but I mean, it's just that it makes you feel welcome. I feel like the teachers actually want me there.
I think my favorite thing about LVS is that they do these meet and greets, play dates, and activities, and I think that the kids get to still be social.
At Brick and Mortar School, I didn't really get to meet any new people, but at LVS I get to meet new people every day.
I am in esports and also theater club. I was the first person in LVS history to ever make it to the playoffs in LVS chess.
Like, wow, they're really going to do a lot now. Like, they get to go and hang out with friends a lot.
It actually feels like I'm being taught and challenged, being able to work at my own pace.
And it doesn't take up my full day, so I can do other activities.
LVS really helped my kids become more confident in themselves.
My brain has never been happier. Let me tell you a bit about LVS.
Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate that piece. For folks who may be considering virtual education, we invite you to consider Lawrence Virtual School. Reach out, Principal Harwood and the team will engage with you and help you to find if that is your right path. We invite you to reach out. Well, we said the summer has turned and we are on the countdown to school starting. We are beyond excited and look forward to welcoming our students. Just a few dates coming up. Our staff, we will welcome them on August 7th and then have professional development on August 12th. Kinder, 6th, and 9th graders will participate in that transition day. We love giving our new students to the campus that on-ramp of an orientation day. And then the first day of school, August 13th. This is the time, can you feel the excitement, that we set the countdown clock. On that clock, on that calendar, is our upcoming Kids Expo, Saturday, August 9th. This event holds a special place for me, and because it was my first experience with Lawrence community. And if you've not seen it, you must come out and join us. We will, I promise, just blow your mind with the with the participation of community members. My team and I will be participating with the foundation to help them get organized. I'm sorry Member Costello couldn't be with us tonight, but I've lost count of the hundreds of pair of shoes that are now getting organized by size, and we'll be in this room on Wednesday morning getting all of that organized and ready, and I just thank the foundation for that work. So now, drum roll please, there it is, 29 days until school opens. So students, parents, and staff, we are excited to post up-to-date, current back-to-school information. Andrew will be opening a special page on the website here in the next 48 hours that will have everything in one spot. Because you know, back to school, if you have children of varying ages, it can get a little confusing. So we're trying to simplify it and to put all the information that folks need together in one space. And that will include, yes, the long-awaited supply list. So we will have those there as well. I thank you, members, for the opportunity to share the superintendent report, and thank you for the honor of serving in the Lawrence Public Schools.
Thank you, Dr. Swift. Now moving on to the report of the President of the Board of Education. I don't really have much, to be perfectly honest. Just a couple things I wanted to highlight on the consent agenda. In our organizational meeting tonight, we have several items on there with several pieces of software that are annual renewals. The reason I wanted to call those out is because I wanted to specifically mention that we are in the process of doing a specific look and overhaul of the software packages that we have, to look where we may have some overlap of the software that we have, to see if we can find some places where they double up, or places we can consolidate to continue the work that we've started to find efficiency gains, and some places that we might be able to save money. So other than that, I don't really have anything, because the one committee I would have attended was negotiations, and I was not able to attend, so I will leave that to Bob or Yolanda. So with that, we'll move on to board committee reports. So I know that negotiations met.
Yeah.
So
That would be me.
Okay.
And negotiations met, I think, about 2 weeks ago. We did come to, forgot that. We did come to an agreement. However, the voting is still underway. The second committee that I serve on is the Equity Council. We had a very good meeting last week where we discussed possible topics that we could address. We're still wanting to include more members from the community and other groups to come and join us in discussing issues around equity in public schools. We also discussed what information the group Equity Council could bring to the board. I think we also at that point discussed with the group that a lot of the things that they may be dealing with would need to go directly to the superintendent rather than coming through the board. Although it is a board committee, we would want them to report issues directly to the superintendent, where the superintendent can just simply deal with them instead of bringing it to the board for us to tell the superintendent to handle it. Other than that, we would welcome at any point any community members that would like to join us on that group.
Okay. Any other committees?
Thank you. This is Carol. I, along with several of our board member colleagues, we attended the July 4th reading of the Constitution at Centennial Park, and I would like to thank everybody for their participation, for taking time out of the summer festivities that day to partake and listen to the reading of our Constitution. And last week, I met with the Equity Advisory Council Committee, along with board members Yolanda Franklin and Vice President Bob Byers. And we had the opportunity to meet Dr. Trinity, and we brainstormed, and I would like to thank everybody that showed up to the meeting. Number one, it's in the middle of the summer, so I would like to thank everybody that showed up, and we brainstormed about how to do outreach and how to recruit members for the Equity Advisory Committee meeting, because as Dr. Swift has shared, and Kelly Jones has shared, that it's going to be an uphill battle in the coming months, so we really need really invested members of the community to show up and stand up for our kids. Thank you.
All right. No other committee reports. We'll start with board commentary. We'll start with Shannon and work our way this way.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a number of updates to share on advocacy, on the advocacy and legislative front. I could spend probably an hour going through the number of things that have happened in the last 3 weeks since we last met, but I'll try to summarize the highlights. So at the state level, there were two important meetings in the last couple of weeks. The Kansas Education Funding Task Force met on July 1st and 2nd. This meeting was fully taken up by evaluating and exploring the at-risk and high-density at-risk weightings that are in our school finance formula. Spent a day and a half really focused almost solely on at-risk funding issues. The Kansas Legislative Research has put together a number of proposed models that the committee looked at so that they could understand what happens if you make changes to any piece of that weighting. And frankly, it became apparent very quickly that this is another case of how interconnected all the weightings in the formula are, and you change one small thing and it has a really outsized impact on districts in very different ways. So, I don't know that I got a sense from that meeting as to what the thinking is around at-risk, other than there's a lot of negative comments from certain legislators on that task force about student achievement for at-risk students. And I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on that, other than to say that unfortunately there's still a lot of misinformation being shared that doesn't really reflect what districts are actually doing with these students. It doesn't reflect how districts are actually spending this money. One of the task force members, in talking about the question was asked, how should we measure student achievement for these kids? And we all are very proud in Lawrence Public Schools of the improvements that we've made in our graduation rates, and in particular our graduation rates. For some of our students, we still have work to do with some of our other students, but we have made progress in some ways. And one legislator on that committee said that she basically completely dismissed graduation rates. She said they're meaningless, they're highly subjective, they don't mean anything. Really, it means nothing more than they spent 13 years in your school district. So it's kind of hard to see how that group of people is going to bridge that divide when there is such misunderstandings of the work that we do in our school districts. There's also the statement that is often repeated, and I've heard it in this task force a number of times, but I've also heard it repeated elsewhere, misinformation, that school funding has gone up far faster than inflation over the last 15 years. And why do we say we don't have enough money to do the work that we do? When in fact, if you look at the data, it is very clear that instructional funding in our state has lagged behind inflation significantly. Both if you go back to 2009, which was kind of the high mark for funding prior to all the current litigation and school finance formula, but even if you go all the way back to 1992-93 school year, which was the first year that we went to a foundation formula in our state, the first year that we funded students with base state aid, significant gap in terms of inflation, and everything in our school finance formula is driven by that base state aid number. So I don't have a lot of real positive things to report from that meeting. The important things for my board colleagues to know is that they have 2 more meeting dates, or 2 more months of meeting dates this year that have been approved for this committee. They will be meeting August 13th and 14th, which is a variation of their typical schedule. That's a Wednesday and Thursday, and it's the second week in August. That meeting is supposed to be fully taken up by special education funding discussions. And then initially, when they started this process at the beginning of this year, they said their plan was to have a draft bill ready to get feedback during the next legislative session. They've walked that back. They said that now they're going to have a summary of the task force's work that they will put together after the September meeting, which is supposed to be kind of a wrap-up meeting for this year. They're not going to have a draft bill. The statute that created this group says that the chair position of the committee will shift from the chair of the Senate Education Committee to the chair of the House Education Committee starting in January. The House Education Committee chair is Representative Susan Estes from Wichita. So we'll have different leadership. Representative Estes does tend to have a slightly different leadership style. So it may impact the way that the work flows in that task force going forward next year. So that's the funding task force update. In addition, the State Board of Education met last week on Tuesday and Wednesday. The 2 big things I wanted to share with my board colleagues about that, or 3 things actually. One, they went over and approved their budget request, what they're going to ask for the legislature for in their budget. And instead of asking for a dollar amount of special education funding, they decided that they're going to tell the legislature that they want them to increase special education funding to reach at least 80% of excess cost. So right now, we are slightly below 70%. That would amount to an estimated increase of $92 million. They only gave it $10 million this last year, so it's a big ask. The State Board also is asking for the legislature to reinstate a number of funding line items that were cut, like teacher mentor program, teacher professional development, the Safe and Secure Schools grant, and some other things. The State Board heard their informational item on the cut scores for the state assessments. This is going to become a topic of conversation, and you may see misinformation shared out there saying that the State Board is getting ready to reduce the rigor of our exam and make changes, lower the standards for kids. And it was really clear from the presentations from the testing experts that when they set the cut scores for the last version of our state assessment, they set them very high. And as a result, our state assessment results are underreporting the success that our students are experiencing in all other areas. So when they take other assessments like MAP or FastBridge or any of those kinds of assessments, when they graduate from our schools and go on to college and persist in college for the first 2 years, that student success metric, the cut scores on our state assessments were putting kids in level 1 and 2 when they were actually achieving all of these things. So they really described it as more of making sure that this next version of the assessments and the cut scores and how they set the levels accurately reflects what our kids know and can do. And so I just wanted to make you aware there are people who are going to use that for political purposes to say that we're lowering the standards, and that was not how the test experts described what this process is about. And then finally, I want to just flag for you an issue that has come up. The state of Kansas in state statute, because of No Child Left Behind, has a definition of persistently dangerous schools. They were required to adopt it back in the NCLB days. And if a school meets that definition, then the school district has to offer school choice options to its students so that they can go to school somewhere else. Okay, fine. State Board of Education member Debbie Potter is advocating very strongly for the board to revisit that definition and to loosen it quite a bit so that more kids can take advantage of school choice. by having their schools being labeled as persistently dangerous. Many of us in the advocacy space see this as a backdoor way to try to expand vouchers in Kansas. So I just wanted to flag that for you. On this federal level, there's a lot going on. Three big things. And one thing you may not have heard about, and that's the one I'm going to start with. Just within the last couple of days, the Trump administration has announced that it is issuing a new interpretive rule for a number of education and other programs. Interpretive rules, or notices of interpretation, as it's called. This one is supposed to take effect in August. Importantly, it does not carry the force of law. It can't legally bind schools or agencies, but it does signal a shift in how the federal government may enforce compliance with spending rules in these programs, particularly their intention to scrutinize immigration status of people who are receiving services with these funds. The areas that it's going to impact: early childhood education, particularly Head Start, important to know. K-12 dual enrollment. So to the extent that federal funds are being used to help support dual enrollment programs between K-12 and colleges, students are going to be they are likely going to be facing new citizenship verification requirements in those programs. And then in the adult education and workforce training space, this is also going to become an issue. At this time, it's unclear how or if at all they are planning to apply this new interpretive rule to the National School Lunch Program or to any of the teacher training grants, although many of those have already been affected by the funding freeze. There's the reconciliation bill that was passed and signed by the Trump administration into law on July 4th. The things that are going to impact K-12, cuts to Medicaid. I was surprised somewhat to learn that Medicaid is the fourth largest funding source for public schools across the United States. So I knew it was a lot. I didn't realize that it was that much. So as those cuts are phased in, they don't happen immediately, but as they're phased in, that will impact us. Changes to SNAP and qualifications for SNAP benefits and Medicaid benefits are going to impact us because kids are going to lose their direct certification. So kids whose families didn't have to fill out forms and just got free lunch in our schools because they participated in those other programs and were directly certified, they're going to lose that. So we will need to be vigilant in ensuring that we reach out to families and get those forms filled out, because they'll have to start doing that again. And then the other big one is the expansion of private school vouchers via federal tax credits. The thing to know about that is that it does not go into effect until the end of 2026, and states have to opt in. And we don't know yet what that means because the bill doesn't describe the process. So there will be a rulemaking process, and there will be processes that happen at the state level. So there will be opportunities to impact through advocacy, but we just don't know what they are yet. And then very last, the federal funding freeze, and Dr. Swift and my board colleague Kelly have covered that very thoroughly. The one thing I wanted to add is that the cuts to the teacher and school leader support Title II, which is the big number for us, that $309,000, that's doubly hard for schools across Kansas because that line item, the teacher professional development line item in the state budget, was zeroed out by the legislature for this school year during the last legislative session. So the total is about $17 million that districts across Kansas have lost to support teacher professional development. So that's pretty rough. The other thing to note is that a coalition of states, attorney generals, and and Democratic governors did file litigation today in the federal district court in Rhode Island to challenge the impoundment or the funding freeze. So there is litigation in the works that we will need to keep an eye on to see what happens. Thank you for your patience with that. It was rather lengthy, but there's just been a lot going on, and I appreciate the opportunity to share. Thank you.
Kelly? Yolanda?
Yes, this is Carol. This is Carol. I would just like to remind folks to please check. Tomorrow is the deadline to register to vote or update your voter registration for the 2025 primary election. So even if your child is 17 now or 18 on election day, they can cast their first vote, their ballot. So, and there's always opportunities for our high schoolers to volunteer at the election and get paid too. Thank you.
Carol? Okay. All right. Move on to our consent agenda. Okay. Have a motion?
I move the Board of Education approve the items listed on the consent agenda.
This is Carol. I second.
Kadu Blackwood,
Yes.
Franklin,
Yes.
Gordon Ross,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Kimball,
Yes.
Byers.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
All right. One thing we have left is public comment. Can I get someone to read the public comment statement for me, please?
The USD 497 Board of Education welcomes public comments and thanks you for taking time to talk to us about our policies and procedures. We set aside this time during our regular meetings to hear from the public. Patrons who wish to participate in public comment must email publiccomment@usd497.org by noon on the day of the board meeting to participate in person. Information provided will make it possible for district staff or the board to follow up with you as necessary. This is your time to share your opinions. However, public comment is not the appropriate forum for making complaints about specific staff or students. If your comments relate to complaints concerning students or staff, such complaints must be addressed to district staff as provided under board policies KN and GAE. The board president or presiding officer of the meeting may direct that a public comment request be redirected to staff to comply with board policy, including and/or to protect the privacy of individual staff or students. If you need assistance in sharing a comment or complaint or concern with district staff, please let the board clerk or other district staff know. Topics discussed in public comment shall be germane to the business of the board. Furthermore, comments must comply with the standards laid out in board policies GAAE and policy AGEAC, the anti-bullying and hazing of staff and students. Comments or acts that are threatening to staff, the board, or others in attendance, including the use of language or behavior that is disruptive of the board meeting, will not be permitted during public comment. In addition, because students may be in attendance or watching online, members of the public will refrain from using foul or obscene language. The district assumes no responsibility and/or liability for the information shared during public comment. The views expressed are solely those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Lawrence Public Schools. The board president or presiding officer will invite comment on topics not included on the meeting agenda at the beginning or end of each meeting. Comments relating to agenda items are welcome after the board has had the opportunity to discuss the topic. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Patrons who are unable to comply with the above procedures may email their comments and viewpoints to the board at schoolboard@usd497.org.
Thank you, Yolanda. All right, we'll start with Justin Spees. Justin, are you there?
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So earlier in the meeting here tonight, GR Gordon Ross was voted in as president of the school board. And you know, what's interesting about that is that GR was voted out by the community of Lawrence in November of 2021. And then these dumbasses on the board voted him back on the
Justin,
board.
that's your warning.
For what? For what? In August of, anyways, I was interrupted right there. And so anyways, the dumbass on the board voted him back on the board in August
Justin, we're going to move on to
2022 after a board member resigned.
Trisha Mastenthin, are you here? Fantastic. We'll have James turn the mic on for you. And then give him a chance to get back to. All right, are you ready?
Good.
Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Trisha Messentine. I'm here to discuss district policy, conflicts of interest, and freedom of speech. I speak only on behalf of myself tonight. I live in the Prairie Park neighborhood. For 4 years, I've been active in a Facebook group for the neighborhood association. Recently, I started asking questions of the group's moderators, like why are comments turned off on posts about allegations of child sexual abuse at Prairie Park Elementary? And why was my post deleted? Then came the requirement that my post be approved by moderators before publication. More questions from me, and finally a restriction that I could only make one comment per hour on the group's page. I asked moderators for a copy of the neighborhood association's bylaws, a list of current officers, and a copy of the last meeting's minutes. For days, my requests went unanswered. Eventually, I was told I could have those items if I met with moderators, or I could obtain them in August when the neighborhood association was supposed to meet for its annual meeting. The moderators wouldn't even name the neighborhood association's officers, which continues to boggle my mind. And that's where the district comes in. I urge the policy committee and the board to explore the creation of a policy that would protect neighborhoods, especially in cases where school district employees who don't live within those neighborhoods participate in neighborhood groups. I'm not saying district staff shouldn't get involved in our neighborhoods, but I am saying there should be a policy that keeps their participation ethically in check so that residents can communicate with their neighbors without interference from school district staff, especially when those staff have conflicts of interest. Should a district employee be able to participate in a neighborhood association as per an organization's bylaws? Of course, but I think what's most appropriate and ethical is for them to participate as a non-voting associate member without occupying an officer or leadership position or having control over communications. And I urge you to explore this. It's obvious to me that anyone who works in a school where child sexual abuse allegations originated should not have the power to shut down a neighborhood conversation about these traumatic events. Please look for an email from me with more information. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Courtney?
My youngest kiddo just turned 6 this week, and he had a great time at his birthday party. I was really worried his older brother was going to get jealous, but he has grown up so much, and he was really great with his younger brother. Oh, it's hard to see that clock ticking down and to know that in less than a month, I'm supposed to drop them off at Prairie Park. It still just doesn't feel safe. 2 USD 497 employees have been arrested for sexual crimes against children in the past 2 years, and nationally, about 10% of students will be affected by sexual misconduct between K through 12. And I still don't quite know how to accept the odds that my own kids or any of the kids that were at that birthday party are going to be next. I'm so glad you've worked on improving sightlines into where children are being served. But to feel safe sending our kids back to school, is just not enough. To feel safe sending them back, we want a more comprehensive plan, a more transparent plan to make sure that we are helping prevent and respond to these incidents better than what we experienced in February. My understanding is that you all have had a chance to review some of what I'm going to share privately. The U.S. Department of Education recommends, and our kids deserve, a public, specific, and comprehensive plan to help protect them from sexual misconduct at school. The U.S. Department of Education recommends schools have a specific written plan on how to prevent and respond to sexual misconduct. That's also recommended by the National Child Traumatic Stress Network, which is an organization founded by Congress to raise the standard of care for children and families who experience traumatic events. Both recommend certain details of those plans be publicly and easily available and consistently communicated, because it involves the whole community in protecting kids and serves as a deterrent to potential predators. Topeka already appears to be far ahead of us in terms of having such plans in place and making elements of those plans public. I know it would make me feel a lot safer sending my kids back to school in less than a month if I knew either such plans were already in place, or I had evidence that such plans were in place, or I knew they were at least in the works in our district. I'm so grateful to have 2 employees from the Lawrence's Sexual Trauma and Abuse Care Center here with me today offering their support. Other local professionals also agree that we should have plans in place and agreed to let me share their names publicly, including Dr. Rebecca Monroe, family therapist Lisa West, licensed specialist clinical social worker Cynthia Feschia, and retired speech language pathologist Kelly Wall. I've asked you all to both perform 2 free professional development courses on this topic within the next 30 days, and to convene a committee to help us implement a plan, such an emergency plan on adult sexual
Courtney, I
misconduct.
have to stop you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Mr. Swift, do we have any announcements?
I believe we're all good. Thank you.
Anybody else have anything? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
All those in favor?
Aye.
What do I have to do, a second? Okay. Can I get a second? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.